I'm about to start streaming, okay? What's up, party people? John here. So, at the end of the last stream, say my name, I was trying to get my name to show up right here. And that's still not done. We'll do it today. I've basically been thinking through how I want to do that, and I've come to the conclusion that I can't use Supabase directly. So, I need to have my own application session manager. If you go back to the first video, I talked about this a little, the idea of session orchestration, where you have a higher order session manager. And at that time, I was thinking of multiple stores, and I was thinking of my application having an application session where the big commerce session was a child of that session. So we're going to maintain that pattern. It's actually kind of cool. You'll get to see how I do that. And it is really useful whenever you need to orchestrate multiple sessions. And you want to maintain your own application control. And the reason for that is largely security. There's other reasons too. And so what is the security problem with just using Supabase? Well, my face is over the issue. So let me move my face. And also there was like an audio issue with the last one, which I think was because I was not using headphones, and I think like my speaker was talking to me. So hopefully the audio comes clear today. So in the window, you can see this JSON response has my email. That's not a big deal because I'm explicitly doing that. It's the fact that the session is an unencrypted JWT that includes my email. So here you can see users included. And as far as I can tell, this is not an option that Supabase gives that we can disable. It's just there. It's just there. And it's plain text JWT decodable. So the user object includes my email. And what's worse, even if I found a way to censor this user object, the access token itself is a JWT that's trivially encoded. So I'll demonstrate this. Here's jwt.io. You can put any JWT there and it will just decode it for you. And so it has my email. Let me refresh the page so you can trust that a little more. So this is like the boilerplate JWT site, how it loads. Very cool site, by the way. Shout out to my boys at Auth0. They know how to do authentication, don't they? So I paste the JWT. It's mad because I put double quotes, but it's, yeah, okay, now it's happy. But you see my email is plain text JWT encoded. So it's not salted, it's not encrypted, it's not secure. Now, there's a lot of applications out there that don't care if the email gets leaked, or they might even be actively like pushing like, hey, contact us, here's our email. So if your application requirements are such that this doesn't matter, then it doesn't matter. But I don't want that for my users. And I know there are a ton of applications out there, like corporate applications, where this is considered PII and this is considered bad. And so I logged an issue on the Supabase repository, and I'll show you the issue briefly, but we're not going to be solving that issue because they need, it's a lot of work, and I want them to approve that they will merge it before I get into that. So remove user email from session is the issue that I opened. I just opened it today, or 14 hours ago. I guess that was yesterday. No response yet, but like not a big deal because it's a pretty recent issue, right? So feel free to go chat on this, but what I really want to call out here is the Stack Exchange article, which is evidence for my claim that it's insecure. So the question is like, is it a bad practice? Does it pose a security problem? And the answers are yes and no. So the accepted answer says yes. It's personally identifiable. It's also considered SI, sensitive information, if you're under SI regulation. And this user points out, this is to rebut what a lot of other people will say. For example, the guy who says, no, it's not a problem, is going to say that JWTs are created to verify public claims and that an email constitutes a public claim. So from the JWT documentation, like the specification, it is a registered public claim. But this answer is what I agree with. The fact that it's registered as a public claim is beside the point. Because what JWT specification is doing is allowing that it be considered a public claim, not requiring that all applications consider it a public claim. Okay? So in other words, the JWT specification will support you if you say, I would like my email to be a public verified claim. They say, great, we support that. It's not requiring that, and it's certainly not declaring that all people's emails are public information, okay? And so that is where I differ with this highly upvoted no. Let me downvote it, actually. Oh, I don't have enough points. Okay, well, he lives to see another day. I have a bunch of points on Stack Overflow, but not on Software Engineering Stack Exchange. Okay, so that's the motivation for this. Kind of the background. And I could have done this all offline, but like I think it would be really interesting for y'all to see. And then so how do we get from there to next iron session? Well, the reason is because that is a minimalist approach suggested by Next. So let's say I do next authentication. Okay, so we agreed that Supabase is not good enough. And so the question then becomes, if Supabase is not good enough, what should I use? Now the go-to in the Node.js ecosystem is called Passport. And so I just do a quick Google search. I say next authentication because I want an authentication framework that's going to easily integrate into my next application. And I specifically want static site generation support. Okay. And by the way, this is something you might run into in a system design interview, actually. They would say like, why do you prefer this implementation to that implementation? And so like I'm giving you the reasons that here are some options that I've considered, and this is the reason that I prefer that one. So Passport is very much a go-to, but it's usually used in a Node runtime environment, not a static site generation environment. It's also old, and they have to maintain a lot of stuff. So let's go to Passport.js, Passport JWT. PassportJS.org provides Passport JWT. It's also from Auth0. It's not like it's a low-quality library or anything. It's a really great fallback. And if next iron session doesn't work, then I could totally use this. It's not encrypted by default. You have to do additional setup to encrypt it. So that's more packages, more dependencies. It's huge. If we scroll to the bottom, it says 500 somewhere. Maybe it's on the home page. Yeah, 500 plus strategies now available. So they are supporting a wide array, fully featured, really heavy. Are we getting the intuition here? It's a heavier dependency, and it has a bunch of stuff that I don't care about. It has supporting authentication with Facebook, Twitter, and more. I'm doing that through Supabase, remember? So all I want to do is have an outer secret layer that prevents my Supabase information from being shown. I want my outer secret layer to be very lightweight, and I want it to support static site generation, ideally created specifically for my front-end framework Next, with as little overhead as possible. And so Passport is a great fallback. If we have to, we'll use it. But for all these reasons, I would prefer Next Iron Session, which is a Next implementation of a more generic library called Iron Session. And also, it is the one that's officially recommended by Next. So that's another great reason. So here's with Iron Session. You can see them talking about it, and then you can scroll down, and they also bring your own database. So that's what we're doing. And so they basically highlight these two examples. I'm not sure, but I think NextAuth might use Passport. Let's see. Maybe that's not true. Let's look at their package, pass. So it doesn't use Passport, it uses NextAuth, but what does NextAuth use? Yeah, no, it's written from scratchy scratch. So that's great. So Passport is like the third choice here because we have framework-specific support, 2 layers of framework-specific support, and then we can fall back to Passport if we want to. And also just look at this example. The code is just more verbose because you have to run it through Next Connect. So Next is not maybe I should have touched on this earlier. Passport is kind of the go-to in the Node environment, and it hooks up with Express. Express is like one of the most common servers. It's like it's the most common server-side framework in Node. Express is. However, Next doesn't use Express directly. It can integrate with Express through Next Connect. Okay, so we see how we're having to make like a bunch of hops. I have Next, I need Next Connect to get to Express, to get to Passport, and then I have to customize Passport. So there's like this long, complicated dependency chain, and I'm trying to avoid that. Okay, so I think I've kind of beat a dead horse and made it clear by now. We want to prefer and it's less verbose, it's less work, and at the end of the day, it's going to be more performant, and we're going to get better results. So we're not just fearing work, it's more work and worse results. It's like a lose-lose to go with Passport, unless we have to, because it is a well-tested provider. So let's say that we're going to use a framework-specific provider. Here are two options. Why would I prefer Iron Session to the Next Auth? And the answer is because this is what they suggest. If you want a low-level encrypted stateless session utility, which is what I want, use Next Iron Session. If you want a full-featured authentication system with built-in providers, Google, Facebook, JWT, JWE, email, password, magic links, and more, use this. So this is their lightweight this is their lightweight option. This is their fully featured option. I want the lightweight option. That's why I'm going with Iron Session. All this stuff, email, password, magic links, and more, I'm still doing that through Supabase. Literally, I just want an encryption wrapper around Supabase. So that's what Next Iron Session does. So this is, this guy's really awesome, VVO, very smart guy. Like, make sure I'm following him. It's not going to take me to his stuff, whatever. He's got like a bunch of projects. Okay, so I'm going to close this at this point. And basically this is our reference application, example application using Next Iron Session. So we're going to refer to this, and you can see, by the way, static generation recommended example. So it works with server-side rendering, client-side rendering, static generation right out of the gate. And you're going to see, I've done a little bit of the work ahead of time. And then I said, this is too good to not stream. So you're going to see how concise this code is. Let me give you a quick preview. This is it. With session, and then you just wrap your handler. So this is like a normal API handler. You get your request and response. That's allowing for the session type request and response. And I get the session. It's very much like what Passport would do. It adds a session property, and it acts as a middleware. Even though we're not using Express, it acts as an Express middleware. So it will intercept the request on the way in, encrypt, decrypt, check, everything secure, append the session object, pass it into your handler, just like a middleware. Your middleware does its thing, which in this case is super simple. If you're logged in, return user information. If you're not logged in, say bye. Say you're not logged in, go away. So this is just like a very basic user handler. And that's one of the cool things about Next. Even though it is not Express, the handlers look very much like Express handlers, where they have request then response. That's a little bit ironic because I think the third property, I think it's request response, and then in Express, the third parameter is called next, but I think Next is missing the parameter called next. Okay, that's like a weird developer irony. Here you can see that we're importing the handler from Next Iron Session instead of Next API request. Here's a little wrinkle. Next Iron Session supports more than just the Next handler. It also supports the Express handler, because Next Iron Session with Next Connect will pass through to the Express handler. So the type definition on handler here is different and unfortunately a little bit lacking, because you can see it's any to any, which is kind of sad. And yet, despite that permissive typing, we still get this session error. So I'm actually going to do a pull request for this, and we're going to fix this, and then we're going to implement this controller, and we're going to say my name. We're going to get to say my name, but we're going to show like a lot. I think last stream I was like, hey, we're almost there, and I'll wrap it up offline, but there were just too many goodies, and so I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to wrap it up online. I don't know what this is. I think I clicked the wrong. Oh, I accidentally clicked battle.net. Okay. So this is the reference application. We're closing this. We understand why I'm using with iron session over passport over next auth and the other options. Versal dev up and running. There is a new secret added. So with session, I put in the utils folder. This is actually the next iron session library with iron session. And then I take with iron session and I pass some configuration to get with session. So with session is already configured with my application specific data. There are 3 particulars in my application. One is my salt. So this is how I encrypt it. It's called password, but this is, so the property is called password, but like the general architectural design pattern term is called salting or hashing or encrypting. And so this is my secret cookie password. And then like, it should never actually be an empty string, but if I do that, it gives me a type error because it's expecting a string. So I did or empty, but I've already verified, I mean, it's on screen, I guess. So I've already verified that it is in fact there, even though theoretically it could be empty. And then the cookie name, I'm going to give it a cookie name with iron session, and then whether it's secure or not. So in production, I want that to be true. In my development environment, I'm allowing for false. So these are 2 new properties that I added up into Versal. And we can double check in Versal console. Super easy to add them. And you can see the checkboxes for the node environment variable. I have preview and development are assigned to this one. And I can see the value, it's called non-prod. And then for the production environment, node env in production, the value is called production. And so that is how we will be secure in production, but we are not going to worry about being secure in development. Actually, let me rethink about the preview environment. I'm not sure if the preview environment is HTTPS. If it is, why not go ahead and be secure there, right? So it's called FeatureCaster Versal App. So it is HTTPS. So we can go ahead and make it. That's the thing about a secure cookie, is that it only works on HTTPS. That is an encrypted, the S being encrypted for SSL. So yeah, I guess I can make that modification real quick. So let's delete these, remove, and then the cookie password is the same across environments. But that was the first case where I did environment differential environment variables in this Versal application. So I kind of wanted to show that real quick. So we'll do node env in development. This time we'll just call it development. What matters for the purposes of my code currently is that it does not take the value of production. It could even be empty technically, but for completeness, I don't want it to be empty. I don't like the idea of new environment variables showing up in higher environments. I don't like that. So we'll just call it prod. Oh, no, it needs to be production actually. So in production and preview, in both cases, it will be production. Cool, so you can see we kind of changed that around a little bit, but it still meets our purpose right there. Okay, so this is looking good. Let me get to the point where I'm going to do a pull request and like the motivation for the pull request. So we know why I'm using next iron session. And how does the session orchestration work? Really quick. Get users declared here. Why is that not working? Oh, because I didn't export. Okay. So in this comment, I have my previous handler code, which was using get user by cookie from Supabase, and now I have my new handler code. Cool. Now Prettier kicked in, so I know it's good. I like that visual feedback from Prettier. So this up here is my new code using with session that is a wrapper around, that is the filled out with iron session. Okay. And so we are going to plug Supabase in here. That's like a to-do that we'll do later. Yeah. So basically I have this session and I'm just going to do session.supabase supabase equals I might need to use get session here, but I'm going to get the Supabase session. And that is literally how the session orchestration works. And I could also do session.BigCommerce. So it is BigCommerce session, right? BigCommerce sesh. Throw an H in there. So it's actually pretty simple once you get all of the kind of, this is one of those cases, authentication and JWT middleware. This is one of those cases where the setup is way harder than the execution. So like getting like which libraries go with which libraries to make authentication seamless and secure. That is the hard part, and then writing the code actually ends up being super easy. And big shout out, I'm really thankful for Next Iron Session, because they literally turned what could have been a multi-file 100-line configuration objects process. They turned it into like, okay, so technically it is still multi-file because I do have the one other file, but like this is a small, simple, intuitive file, right? And then this is like a 3-line thing to apply it. So I'm a big fan of Next Iron Session. Okay. So now we know how this coordination will work. So why do I need to do a pull request? Everything looks like it's working, right? So here's where the issue comes up. So I have this special typing that works for me, but like by default, it doesn't work. That's the issue. I can also delete this and delete this. And then it does work, but now I have any types, which I don't like. So the issue is basically a type issue, which some people would perceive as minor, and frankly it kind of is minor, but it's a minor opportunity as much as it is a minor problem. And if we can help other people, and if the community values this, then let's go for it. So that's actually a great question. Like, does the community even care, John? Like, why are we wasting our time? Well, the answer is like, yes, they do, it turns out. So I recently wrote a blog article called Grokking Open Source Contributions. Oh, yeah, so I've had a bunch of like PRs merged recently. So I did a PR to Supabase that got merged, and I did a PR to Next.js that got merged. In one of my Moonlogs, and there's a Moonlog playlist now. That's weird. This is like the session that's going on right now. Can I go to my own channel? I just want to show you the, I'll probably put it in the description. I just want to show you Rick Vanderveer. Yikes, I guess I'm not as famous as Rick Vanderveer. So I have a playlist now for Moonlogs. The Moonlogs, beautiful playlist. 0123, I'll add 4, we're 0 index, that's a fun thing, right? And also the link is here in the After Econ article, so I'll put this in the description too. Okay. So the point is that a low PR for Twitter was one of my Moonlogs, and it got accepted and merged. So that's kind of a cool thing. That's allow Twitter profile. And then we had another one on Next.js. And so the idea here is that I've been successful at making open source contributions to major projects, and I want to share with other people how they can do that too. And one of the tips is minimally scope PRs. So the fact that this is a small opportunity is actually makes it more feasible that it will get merged. And so don't poo-poo small opportunities. There's kind of like this lose-lose idea in open source contributions. It's like the giant open source contributions that are high value are too intimidating, so no one ever does them. And then the ones that are small, so no one ever does them, and so no one ever actually helps. And like that's really bad. So I would suggest start small, and then you'll build kind of like a rapport with. There is like a social network side to open source contributions. Like the maintainers will start to trust you, and they'll take you seriously, and they'll actually consider your ideas more heavily, prioritize your PRs, prioritize your issues, have a real conversation, two-way street with them. And once you get that level of rapport, you can go to mid. I wouldn't jump straight to the big ones, but like you can like slowly increase the size and scope of your PRs. But in some sense, you never really want to get to the big scope PR, right? Like keeping it small is just a good practice for PRs. Okay. So now we understand why it's going to be a small PR, but it's still worth doing. And how do we know that the community values? So another one of my tips in that article is start by looking at the issues and looking at the existing issues. And if it's not there, create an issue and look at the existing pull requests. So this is just like standard programming stuff. If you go to Stack Overflow, before you ask a question, you should check if it was already asked and answered, right? So before you make a pull request or create an issue, you should check if it's already asked and answered. If there's already an issue, it's already being addressed. If there's already PR, and then in terms of like general programming, before you go create a whole library, check maybe libraries already exist for this. Like that's a good reason that I'm using Next Iron Session instead of making my own homebrew. So I said, hey, I have this type issue. I can fix it for myself, but like, aren't other people noticing that the types are acting funny? And the answer was like, yes. TypeScript with Iron Session does not extend rec to include session. By the way, this is another reason to go to the issues first. If you create your issue and then you create your PR, you can link your issue to the PR. You see right here, milestones. You will get your pull request prioritized if it closes an issue, because maintainers are like, oh, two birds with one stone, or could be more than two birds with one stone, right? If you can link multiple issues. So this question has already been asked, and then the maintainer said PR's welcome, right? This is really great news. And then there's already a linked pull request. So like, hey, people are already taking care of this, John. Why am I doing it? Well, the reason is this pull request doesn't work. So it was pulled almost 2 months ago. And the maintainer was basically like, hey, this is a bad idea. And the second point in particular is really good here. Basically, the guy who created the pull request made it specific to Next handlers, which is a problem because the library supports Express handlers also through Next Connect. And so the guy who did the pull request was like, okay, great, you can like close this PR, I guess. And then I also commented like, if you're going to just address Next handlers, you can just import the Next handler. And that's kind of what the maintainer said. So basically everyone's agreeing that even though this pull request exists and it's not going to work. Also, in addition to all that, it's like out of date. It's conflicted with the main branch. So even if it was like welcome, it still wouldn't be mergeable. Like it technically is not mergeable. So then we go to other pull requests, and there's another guy who also solved the same issue, even though he didn't link the issue. Yeah, I should link the issue actually. With Iron Session does not extend rec type to include session. Right? And so this is 319. And it's kind of the same thing. He did a cool pull request. And actually, this is like pretty much, this is like what I would have done. Because it's like, hey, let's just mark request to be a request instead of an any. And let's also allow for session. Like I literally would have done this. Same thing. Although I think maybe it's supposed to resolve void instead of resolving any. But like I pretty much would have done exactly what he did. The issue is that it broke. And as far as I can tell, and this is how this is like how minor my PR is going to be, but it's still valuable. Like there have been multiple PR attempts to close this issue. So if I get third strike, which is not 3 strikes and you're out, but it's 3 stripes and Johnny boy, you in here. I came here because you were in the WoW section, but I'm actually learning a lot. Oh, what's up, represent? I don't know why I was in the WoW section. I do sometimes stream WoW, but like not right now. And I thought I didn't tag this, but maybe something broke. Welcome. So yeah, there have been like 3 attempts to solve this issue, and they're both so close that I'm not even like reinventing the wheel. I'm pretty sure this failed because of prettier, because of formatting. And if I actually try and see the logs that will tell you why it failed, it says the logs for this have expired. So I'm going to submit the pull request. Even if my pull request fails again, at least I'll be able to read the logs and see why it failed. Because see here, it says run through pretty. It's like this failed, and then he ran it through prettier, and then it failed again, which kind of makes me think like maybe the first time was a prettier failure. Replace trailing commas. So like he's still dealing with prettier as far as I can tell. So what I'm hoping is this guy's prettier was just not set up right, and my prettier is set up right, and all I gotta do is like do the same thing that he did, but like have better prettier, and I'm Gucci. That's what I'm hoping. So before I do that, let me ref the issue, because this is going to be the issue that I reference. And basically, we want all the social activity to be directed to a single issue instead of being spread out, because that way that issue gets prioritized. And it's like, hey, this is a big deal. Let's get this knocked out. Also, but here's a downside about the next Iron Session repository. There's a bunch of Dependabot, like easy things that should just be click, 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 merge, merge, merge. And they're not being merged. Going back like 30 days, which makes me think that the maintainer, and this is a really smart guy, but he has like almost 200 repositories, right? Including he made 3 of his own products. This source karma thing's really cool. I did that and tweeted it. So it makes me think he's like really busy and doesn't have time. So, but I'm going to tweet him. So this is another way. He's got his Twitter right here. I'm not going to tweet him yet, but I'm going to PR it and I'm going to tweet him. I'll follow him. And that's another thing that I'll do to try and get attention on my pull request if it passes. I'm not going to tweet him if my pull request fails. That would just be annoying a maintainer, and they're already busy. Okay. I think we've set all the backstory, so let's get crack-a-lack and let's write some code. Ben Hickson. Let me also follow Ben Hickson. Yeah, and Ben Hickson like fixed it and then had some issues, and then he was like, I can't seem to reproduce the bug that this PR solved in the first place. So that's another thing that I thought I already did. Let me refresh this page. Yeah. So I did reproduce the bug. You can see the sesh. If I just use handler rec res, I get a type error. So that's what we're trying to solve. And those are all like valuable contributions. Just reproducing an issue is helpful. Close this. So I'm going to comment, in theory, this PR would also close. However, I see there the PR is build failed for unknown reasons. Unknown reasons. Error log is expired. So I will make a similar change and PR fresh in a minute. All right, cool. So the fact that I did this comment and I put the hyperlink to it, GitHub consolidates it into that small hash. I'm going to close this. And now if I refresh this page, it will say, maybe it's taking some time. Oh, 298. It should have put a link down here, but it didn't. Oh, because I'm an idiot. So he had already referenced it. So it's already got both references on the issue. Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure both references were on the issue. So mine's going to be the third try. I'll keep this open because I'm going to refer to his code. And close this. And close this. Close. I'm going to keep that open because I'll deal with that later. So now it's time to make some code. So I'll start by forking it. 666 stars. Oh no, we got to fix that. That's unlucky. All right, so this is my fork of next iron session, and I will clone that to my local. I'm in VS Code. I will open a new bash within none of the above. I don't want to go to an existing repository. Git bash. Okay, fine. I'll go to this folder, but I'm just going to CD up a level. So now I'm in my GitHub workspace, and I will clone my fork. I'm also going to go back and give him a star so he's not evil anymore. Boo! Good job not being evil, bro. So fork, get back to my own fork, Bandivere next iron session. So I'm here. Just cloned it. Now that I cloned it, I want to add it to my workspace, my VS Code workspace. Add folder to workspace. And next iron session folder, add. So here's next iron session. So then I will CD to next, CD next iron session. Open source rocks. This is awesome. Okay, so now I'm in next iron session. So the first thing I need to do is, I think, build it. The way I'm going to like prove it works is I'm going to link it, which I usually do with Yarn, but I think I'm going to have to npm link it. So npm and Yarn are both great. I'm using npm because I had trouble installing the Versal command line with Yarn. I got like an error when I tried it, but it succeeded when I npm IG. So I've been using npm for all my Versal stuff. So let's find that file that this guy changed. libindex DTS. Control P. I'm going to fuzzy type. I'm going to say next. Oh, it's iron. I'm going to say iron next. What is it? What is this even called? Iron next or next iron? Next iron session. So I can say next iron and then paste libindex DTS. So this is kind of cool, like VS Code fuzzy typing lets you type like that. You don't have to do every letter in a row. They just have to come after in the full file path. Okay, so here we are. And I'm going to literally make the same change that he made. Type handler rec. Okay, this is how it should look for me because it hasn't been modified yet. Right? Johan Nilsson. So Yeah, I think you can see it. It's light in the background. It says Johan Nilsson is the person who wrote this code. I know that. VS Code doesn't do that out of the box. I know that because of a plugin called Git Lens. So if you're a coder and you use VS Code, super recommend you get Git Lens. Why do I care that Johan Nilsson did this? Well, the reason is because I can come over here and at him and get more attention on this. Is this Johan Nilsson? So that's a different guy. So I have like a bunch of people that I can tag now. I can tag Ben Hickinson. I can tag VVO, the maintainer. I can try and tag Johan. Yeah, Deshu, Johan Nilsson. That's a way that I can prioritize my pull request and get it addressed quickly and also get feedback quickly. If there are things that I need to change, I want to know them. Like, let's get this going, right? I don't want to wait. These guys have pull requests up for a month. I don't want to wait a month and then hear that it's rejected, or wait a month and then hear that something needs tweaked and then wait another month because it needs more than one tweak. Like, I want to know today, within 24 hours. So how can we make change happen quickly? Let's get the right humans involved. Cool, so it looks like the installation process is done. And I'm expecting Prettier should kick in automatically, but we need to verify that there's a Prettier file. Which I don't see a Prettier file. I see a Prettier ignore. And it's ignoring TS files. So this could be a reason that the guy was having trouble. This could be a reason that the guy was having trouble. That no one's Prettier would work because there's no Prettier file. And in fact, Prettier is ignoring the file. Oh, that's a not. That's not TS. I think, okay, so I think if I'm understanding this, it's ignore everything, but don't ignore TS. So never mind the explanation from earlier, but it could be the case. I still don't see a Prettier file. So what a Prettier file does is it tells VS Code how to shape the code for formatting reasons. So if the guy had his own local Prettier file, and then if the build is doing a Prettier check, and it's expecting different formatting rules, those could come into conflict and cause a build failure. I personally think it's really silly to fail a build on formatting. That's my 2 cents. But anyway, I'm not maintaining this one. And I can just jack this file up and like, yeah, and we'll know if my Prettier is working. So yeah, it snaps back, right? So I hit and I have format on save. My format on save is set up. That's Control-Shift-P on Windows. It's Command-Shift-P on Mac. And then you can see preferences, open settings, JSON, editor, default formatter is Prettier VS Code, editor format on save is true. That's how you set that up. Okay. So my VS Code appears to be working. I made some changes and saved it, and it did not appear in my source control differences. This file, index.dts, I edited it, right? And it didn't show up as a difference. So what that tells me, there's some evidence, you could say it's kind of weak, but it's better than nothing, that my Prettier rules match the upstream repository Prettier rules. Because when my Prettier rules executed auto formatting, at least with respect to those spacing differences, after it was done formatting it, there was no difference. Could turn out that like our spacing rules are similar, but like maybe our semicolons or our quotes or something else is off. But this is good so far. Okay. So let me just take his changes at this point. Yeah. So mine added like a comma here and his didn't. Whoa, there's an unexpected token expected. Oh, so this file has issues to begin with, so that could be another issue. So maybe his build failed for unrelated reasons. Or here's another reason his build could have failed. So previously it was an any. And so any would be compatible with this with iron session declaration. But now that request and response types are specified, it's no longer compatible. So maybe he didn't do enough code. So I'm going to... Part of me wants to just like submit this code and see what the error is. And then part of me is like, dude, fix all the errors in front of you before you submit. I'm going to drop my locks. I'm not going to commit those. I think the upstream is using yarn anyway. So I'm going to do both. I'm going to PR this and I fully expect it to break. So this will be feet better handler type. So I fully expect this to break actually, but I'm going to go ahead and pull request it because I want to view those logs. And test-driven development, it's not a bad idea to break it on purpose first, break it, and then fix it. Because if you fix it without ever breaking it, you're not actually sure that you fixed it. And think about this. Let's say that I want to have a math function and it just does addition. And I say 2 plus 2 and it gives me the answer 4. And I go, yes, it works. So it never actually broke. So it works. And so I think it works. But really what it's doing under the hood is multiplication. And it just happens that 2 times 2 is also 4. And I never tested like other situations. You see the problem, right? Now I try to use it. I do 3 and 5, I get 15. I'm like, shit, I was expecting 8. So break it first and then you can fix it. And that gives you more confidence that your fix was accurate. Okay, so that push should have gone through by now. Oh. Okay, so that push will have gone through by now. Close this guy, and now I'll open my own pull request. New pull request, compare across forks, pick the Vanderveer fork, and it is, I am committing to the master branch, and so here's the pull request. And so what are my comments? I need to reference the issue that I would close, so I should not have closed that. Oopsie. Okay. So my comments will be closes. This supersedes. So when a pull request supersedes another one, that means it's if you merge me, you can close him. That's what supersedes means. And then I might be closing other PRs too, because like, look at this guy. So we'll save that for another commit, but I might need that. So who am I actually superseding is the 2 that came in here. 1, 2. Open that in a new window. That was garbage. Okay, so it'll supersede 2, and it will supersede 1. Allow edits by maintainers, of course. Okay. You see it collapsed those references. And this is part of the lingo. Again, referring to my blog article, afterecon.com, Grokking open source contributions. Um, know the lingo. This is a tip that gets you. So first of all, you'll be able to understand what people are saying, and they can understand what you were saying. So that's really important. But then also, when you speak the developer lingo, it gives you some credibility, and people take you seriously. They're like, okay, this guy is kind of seasoned and experienced. It helps also if you have like a bunch of your own repositories, like I do. I don't have 200 like that other guy does, but I have like 60. So this is some stuff that'll get you taken seriously. If you go to my overview, you can see a bunch of green dots. Like, okay, this guy codes. This guy codes, right? These are reasons. Hot chick in my picture, suit. That's wifey, by the way. Um, so there's reasons to take me seriously, and it's not just the lingo, but like the lingo helps. And so if you look at this pull request that I just committed, closes and then put the issue that you close. This is part of the lingo. Feet. This is part of the lingo. Um, like downcasing the title. I consider that part of the lingo. That's like some of the stuff is not essential, but like some of the stuff just looks like what developers would do, right? Very terse, commit message. I'm not like giving you a novel. See how long it takes for this bad boy to break. All right, I guess that's going to take a minute. So in the meantime, we can carry on. I can close these because they're already linked. Anyway, I'm going to leave this open because I might. I'm going to just go for it. It will give, so Versal should continue doing checks. I can show you on somebody else's pull request what I'm trying to communicate. The Ben guy. Ben Hickson, yeah. So you see the little red X means that his build failed. Which is like, even if we like what you did, I can't merge it because it breaks code, right? So that's green check is good, red X is bad. Now, what you'll notice is that there are red X's on different lines. Feet. And by the, he's talking the lingo too. Feet TypeScript. He might have done better than me right there, putting TypeScript in parens. Yeah, so this guy's pro. Look, closes, terse, and super nice too. Hey with the exclamation. Love it. Shout out to Ben. Am I following you, dude? I know I am. Okay, cool. Green dots everywhere. Are you on Twitter? I'm finna hit your Twitter up, dog. You don't have a Twitter, bro. All right, you're still the man. Don't worry, you're still the man. Full stack with, yeah. So what I'm trying to say is that I can do another commit and it will independently try to build. And so it's possible that the commit that I expect to build does fail, does fail, but I shouldn't need to wait. So I can go ahead and make the second commit that I'm hoping works, and I'll be able to read the logs for them separately. 3 failing, 2 failing. So these are different builds. In some build systems, that doesn't work, but it appears to be working here. That the builds are independently reported. Oh, I guess it's saying that it passed. I don't trust this, man. Didn't we do like the exact same change? So why does his work and mine, or why does mine work and his doesn't? Because of the comma? There's no way that the comma is the reason that it works. Bro, Benny Ben, shout out to Benny Ben. I'm so sorry that your code broke everything because of a comma, my dog. Literally, pro to pro. when you're a junior, you make like massive problems, right? But when you're and it's like really like you shouldn't have done X, Y, or Z. When you're a senior, it's the smallest stuff that you forget. Oh, that comma. So in the situation where my commit broke, I would like to do a second pull request or a second commit to fix it. But in this case, my commit worked. So I'm nervous to push another commit because my next commit might break it, right? I'm going to do it anyway, but like this is not advisable. I would not advise that y'all do this. I would advise that y'all do multiple PRs. The reason that I'm going to do this, there's two reasons that I'm going to do this. One, I want to avoid chained PRs and PR dependencies where I do a second PR and it says, hey, please don't merge this until you merge that one. That's annoying. Second, the changes that I'm going to do are in the same file and they're only like 10 lines. So it's still arguably like an isolated scope. 3, I can quickly roll back if I need to. Like I am not gonna like drop this and run. I'm going to confirm that the build passes or fails. And if it passes, I'll leave it. And if it fails, I'll roll it back. And so because of these 3 reasons, I'm confident to go ahead and make the change, even though I wouldn't say like in general, this is a good practice. Like if you're busy and you just want to throw up a PR and you're like, oh, I can do more. And it's just like unrelated files, don't do it, make a new PR. Or it's the same file, but you're running out of time and you're gonna like throw that up and run, don't do it. You need to make sure that it works. Or you're gonna be burning your first PR and you're gonna have to like live with that. But I don't think that I'm burning my first PR in this case. Okay, so now that I'm importing from Cookie, the error went away, but I want to verify that Cookie is in fact installed. So Cookie. So Cookie and Cookie types are both installed. So I'm happy to import from Cookie. And if I hover, I do get feedback information, which indicates that this is an appropriate export. And I can control click, Mac it's command click, and it takes me to that export definition. So this is a valid import, so the change that I did seems fine. In my VS Code quick browser in the top right, I can see there are 2 more red lines in the minimap, and then also on the scroll bar itself, there are 2 more red lines. So I'm trying to fix the errors in this file, so it looks like there's 2 more errors. This error feedback is all related. There's the minimap in the top right, there's the scroll bar, and then there is right in front of us, once we scroll to the proper region, the red squiggle under the affected characters. So it looks like there's 2 issues. One is this handler, and 2 is this semicolon. So I'll go from top to bottom. Unexpected token expected a left brace. So let me, at first glance, I'm not sure why it's expecting a left brace. Let me look in all the places that apply session is used. So here it's used standalone. It's not assigning into a variable, which indicates that it would be void. Yeah, as far as I can tell, it's an asynchronous void function. And it's great that this guy has tests. It did not appear to be the case that the build process was automatically running tests. So I could, just to give the maintainer some extra confidence, I could run the tests on my end and paste the result screenshot. So here I see request response options. Yeah, I think it's because it is supposed to return. It's supposed to return the promise. Let's see. No, that's not right. That would be if it returns a function. Let me get rid of this whole bit. And now it complains about this guy, right? So it seems like there's something higher up that it's complaining about. So if I just do that. What if I get rid of this guy? Save is a function that returns a promise of a string. Apply session is a function that returns. Yeah, apply session is a function. So I need an arrow, right? Oh, here it's exporting an actual function. Yeah, I think when you use the function keyword, you type it differently. Let me try this. Export const apply session equals. So we'll do the ES6 syntax. I just did this in my own code, I think. Yeah, so when you write it this way, you type it this way. So I'm going to grab some reference code, paste the reference code, export const apply session is an async function. I don't know if I want that async keyword right there because I'll try it both ways. Either so they're returning a promise of void. I would just return void, but the async keyword would cover the promise piece. Or I can omit word and return a promise of void. So this would be the handler type. So this would be type. Type apply session. Request response session options. I'm going to keep the any's, although it looks to me like it doesn't need to be any, but I'm going to keep them. Okay, so here are the request response session options, and then it's an arrow to any. Here it's an arrow to promise void, and then a semicolon. Comment those, get the formatting feedback. Um, so here I have a type apply session, which takes request response input. No, we're not saying that anymore. We're saying it takes any. And we can name them rec, any, res, any. You going to the gym? See ya. I actually like it typed this way more. I could just do any session options, but I wouldn't be able to name the arguments. So this way I have named arguments. Okay, so here's the type apply session. And then I'm going to export function apply session. Didn't seem to be happy about that. So I can export const apply session. No, I think I want to use their export function syntax. So let me go to my source control, grab what it was previously formatted. Here we go. So is iron session really returning a function? I use with iron session. Hold on. Something's not making sense to me. So I use with iron session over here, and it takes in a function and it takes in options. And it returns a promise. It takes in a function, it takes in options. What is this thing? That's the thing I'm not sure about. Okay, I'm going to close this one because I don't need it anymore. This seems to be the same file. Next iron session lib index. Close that. Don't need a profile. Narrow down some of the files. Let's look up a function example. TypeScript function example. And ideally this function would have, it would return a promise. Go to the new page, okay. So here's what I'm expecting. Fn. This is a function type. So if we look at what was originally there, it's not actually a function because it doesn't return anything. It doesn't do any operations with the arguments. It's not actually a function. It's a function type. So we have apply session. And I think it should arrow to a promise, but maybe I'm missing something. So it should arrow to void. Syntactically similar to arrow functions, and they're just using fn. Can I just use fn? Yep. Okay, this seemed to be the confusion. So fn is the name of the function. That's it. Fn is the name of the function. So let me grab these arguments. Okay, and then it goes to a promise. Okay. So I'm going to cancel all that. Save. Oh, now it's mad that I said void. Unexpected token. Of course, we can use a type alias to name a function type. Generic functions. It's common to write a function where the types of the input relate to the type of the output. So they're using the function keyword here. Is that what's going on? I also wonder if we're on the same version of TypeScript. Can I do, maybe I can do export async function and get rid of the promise here. A global type function describes properties like bind, call, apply, and others present on all function values in JavaScript. These calls return any. If you need to accept an arbitrary function but don't intend to call it, the type arrow void is generally safer. So maybe that's what's going on. TypeScript is mad because this is supposed to be an implicit any, but it was trying to specify. Nope, because it complains about that too. Let me get rid of the async keyword. So it's fine with this. So this returns a function. And this returns promise void. So this is your input and this is your output, right? So that seems fine. So where's this actually used? What I want to see is with iron session. Is with iron session defined elsewhere? Because I think it is. As a function, I think it's defined elsewhere. So this is just an example of how to use it. Next iron session. Export default. Okay. Well, this is the README. I don't want the README. I don't want the example. Here's the index DTS. Okay, and here's the index file. So this is helpful. So this index DTS is meant to type this index file. So maybe that's why it's mad, because apply session. Okay, it's not the case that apply session. Here you go, export async function. It's not the case that, so maybe it's mad that apply session is returning differently. With iron session, by the way, is returning an async function. So with iron session, returns an async function, and here it's an async any. What if I say promise of function? Is that better? Promise of foo. Please do complain. It just any's it. Promise function. Okay. I think it's not getting that far. Okay, so now. Yeah, it's like all this stuff. It's mad about all these functions. And now you're mad about this. T is not defined. Session is not defined. Okay, it's because session is down there. T is an implicit variable. It's an implicit type. So why is it mad that it's not defined? T. Yeah, I feel like we're like dealing with a different version of TypeScript. Let me see. What is my TypeScript on? So that would enable TypeScript next. Do I not have any TypeScript installed right now? That seems strange. So next iron session. What version of TypeScript here? Type. Doesn't say in the package.json file. How about the tsconfig? I don't have a tsconfig. It has an editor config. Okay. Yeah, so I kind of feel like I don't want to cover this change at this point because something weird is going on. So I'll save my file, close other files, roll back this change. I do kind of want to keep this types cookie thing. Cookie serialize option, it is a type. Yeah, why is it not letting us import the type anyway? Oh, is it because it's an interface and not a type? What if I just do that? Cannot import type declaration files. Yep, no, that's basically maintaining the complaint. I wonder how it works then. I can still import the type instead of importing the... that's fine, it passes through, so that's fine. I wonder how it's been working then. So I'll commit this by itself. It's almost like a fix and not a feat. Cookie type import. Okay. Yeah, I'm having a lot of trouble with that apply session, but maybe we can come down here and fix the handler. So handler requires 2 arguments, rec res. Okay. Cannot find name rec. Okay. I guess we will call them any. That makes me feel bad. Yeah, let's go check the, what I'd rather do is say a Next.js handler or an Express handler. Is this bins? So conversation. So next API request with session. Okay, so that's fine. So does next iron session already depend on? Yeah, cannot find name next API request. What types does it depend on? Like very few. So that's the advantage of them going any, is that they don't need to import. It's an advantage and a disadvantage, right? So this is where I would separate a PR, because this is like a different scope of a decision. So if I want to make them depend on next API request, that's a bigger decision. So I'm not going to do that right now, because what I was thinking is like next API request with session or express API request with session would be a better type of that. But I'm just going to leave it at any. Okay, so there's only the so this is fix handler type error. Well, now we didn't really add anything at all, did we? So this is actually not worth checking in because it computes to an any. Unless we were going to make session required, which I don't really want to do. Let me comment session. Oh, this is an ESLint error, so this is not even a TypeScript error. Okay. That's pretty crazy. So it's like an ESLint TypeScript conflict, basically. Okay, so I'm not going to change that at all because there's not a TypeScript error there. It's an ESLint TypeScript error. Let me install those. Let me install the TypeScript nightly. I'm not sure if that's going to fix an ESLint. I already have ESLint. ESLint type. Is there like an ESLint TypeScript compatibility thing that I need? Okay, that didn't fix it. I don't care too much. So the question here is this even worth doing? Because if I give it any, I guess if I depend on Next.js types, it's not too bad. This one seems to be doing fine there. Yeah, let's just go for it. They might be like, dude, I don't want to increase my dependencies, and I fully respect that. But the dependency is already there. It's just not specified. So I think it's an enhancement to, I think it's an improvement. It's, yeah, to specify it. Because currently we're giving an any type, which is no good. Okay. This is how I'm able to fix it on my end. Session. Extends next API request, yeah. Did VOVO like it? No, right? Also, you can do like this. Yep. Yep. So they're all correct, but they're dealing with the next. Not the express use case. I'm just double checking these are the only two, Next.js, Express, and Connect. So here's iron session. It's just any. No, so we need the next or express request. Okay, so express types. It's gonna have to install express types. Express request type. So I want to make sure that the express request is within express. I think so. Let me kill that. Make sure I save it. Save dev. want to make sure that they're using save dev and not save, so package JSON. Dev dependencies, great. Making great use of the dev dependencies. Are types cookie needed anymore? Oh, types cookie can be moved to a dev dependency. Okay. Oh, cool. It alphabetized it. That was cool. Okay, so now we have the express types, and I want the Next.js types. I'm looking in my other project to make sure this is how I got the Next.js types. Cookie expressed. Okay, that's the current one. Cookie, JS cookie. It looks like I never actually grabbed Next.js types. So we can double check this, but I think it's cool. I think it's true. Futurecaster package JSON. And the types in here. Yeah, so we never actually got Next.js types. So it might be the case that Next.js types are within the next package itself, but I really just want the types. I don't want the whole thing. This is a stub. Yeah, okay. So they deprecated it. I just don't want to depend on Next. That's the thing. I guess it can just depend on it as a dev dependency. Okay, we'll do that. Okay, so the types for Express is not deprecated, but the types for Next is deprecated, so npm next. I'm gonna double check Futurecaster, but I think that is what I need to do. Futurecaster is a Next.js project. Next. Yep. All right, cool. So npm save dev next. I'll need to make a note that next types package deprecated, and they recommend using next, the full package. But that it is a development dependency because I just want the types. It's not a runtime dependency. Cool. So now next is here. I don't want to keep the lock. I don't want the yarn lock either. And now I can say that type, I can say export type iron request is next API. I think it's a next API request or express request. What do you mean you can't find it, man? I installed you, dude. Okay. Import type from at types express. So I think I have to actually install Express too. Is Express already installed? Just the types. Okay. Yeah, so I think this is like why they didn't do it in the past, because they were trying to avoid what seems to be like heavy dependencies. npm uninstall save. So they were trying to avoid what seems to be heavy dependencies, but we're just installing the dev dependencies. Yeah, so it shouldn't affect runtime. Let me double check if there's another way to import express request. Okay, import type definition. Yep. Oh, reference types like this. Hopefully I was too hasty in my uninstall, and so we'll install it back. Let's see if I can reference it like that. Reference express types. That is a TypeScript 2.0 plus. It will not work with it. Yeah, it looks like a difference in TypeScript versions, huh? But that was from back in 2016. So tsconfig should have types, I think. Maybe not. After 2 years of development, I've finally managed to solve this problem. Basically, TypeScript has two kind of modules. Wow, okay, that's really weird. And this is from like 2018, 2019. Unexpected token. I want to know what is my version of TypeScript right now. Close my VS Code. I did install the TypeScript nightly, so I'm wondering if I need to like close and reopen. Nope, still mad. he has the TypeScript configuration inside of the package file. That's nice to see. Okay. And the prettier config is also here too. That's why I couldn't see those files. I still don't see TypeScript info. Here's Babel. So Babel is what's transpiling, I guess. I am going to submit this as a second pull like a separate branch, a chain pull request, because it's just too controversial to introduce these big dependencies. So I'm going to just go for it because I want to move on. I'm going to go for it, and I'm going to have a separate branch. Okay, so I think I already pushed the commit with cookie fix in it, yeah? I don't want this package lock. That's fine. So this 2 commits already passed. So I'll call out the cavalry on this. I'm not gonna tweet that at him, but I will tag him here. Better handler type. So I got VVO. I got Johan Nilsson. I got Ben. Nope, not that Ben. Ben Hickinson. So we'll say also supersedes. What's that guy's name? GKW, this guy. Feel like doesn't want to be tagged or something. Let's see. You. There's one more. Oh, no, that's Ben. Adam AH. So this is 328. I already said supersedes 328. All right, cool. All right, so we got that out there. Let that stew, and then I'll put up the chained PR that I really hate doing, but adding express and next as dependencies is like kind of a big deal. So I'm going to consider that justification. So let's branch it. So we're going to do get branch dev deps express next. Okay. So get branch, get checkout dev deps express next. Now I can see where I'm at. Get status. I don't want the log file. So in this one, I'm going to drop the whole, like, trying to minimize. So what I was trying to do with the type stuff was minimize dependencies. I'm going to drop that. So I don't think I need these dependencies anymore. I have next. I'm going to npm i-s save dev express. I also dropped the cookie types thing. So we'll see if it complains about that. I might need to add it back, but I believe since I have the cookie runtime that I'm good, because it's importing it from cookie. See? So we'll get express request from express. And express has no exported member express request. Okay. So do I need the types after all? Okay. Let's just Google this. I didn't realize it used TypeScript. Please disregard original answer. With TypeScript, the capitalized import should work if you installed Types Express because the package exports capitalized types. Probably before the restart, the types package has not been indexed somehow. So these are the, okay, it's just not called. Okay, cool, it's just not called express request. I feel like extend express request type is a good way to search for this. You want to create a custom definition and use a TypeScript feature called declaration merging. tsconfig file section. Okay, so we found that the files section was in the package JSON. So here's files. And it's in lib. And so these are the lib. Okay, great. Maybe I could point to the types in lib. Again, I'm kind of going back to the minimizing dependencies thing here, but it sure would be nice, wouldn't it? Okay, so I will say type express request equals type of. So there's two things to do here. One is just to spell out the types, type of handler. So I'll spell out the types, and then I will try to, QRS, I will try to reduce the dependencies. We'll see if that works. Handler. Did you mean handler? Sure. Okay, great. So we have the express types. Then we are going to do type iron handler equals express request with session. Actually, I don't know if, yeah, I don't know if the response need to have session. Okay, so iron handler is, and then we have type next API request with session. So express handler type express handler with session. It really extends it. Okay, what is the handler? Nope, express server static core. Okay. So you do have request handler. Wasn't it complaining about that earlier? Oh, because I think I called it something else. No, this is super wrong. This is request handler. This is a different thing. Request, yeah. But maybe I can still do request. So here's request and session. Cool. So express request with session. Express response, let's say capital R. Okay. Then we want to say I don't want to request handler. I mean, I guess that's fine. So interface express handler with session extends request handler. And the way that we extend it is export interface request. That I want to modify the request here. I guess I don't care about the handler thing, actually. Sorry. If I have the request and the response, that's good enough. Okay. So here's the request with session. Here's the response. Next API request with session. Next API response is already a thing. Next API handler I don't need to deal with. So I have iron. So I have iron request is either of these. Duplicate identifier. Okay. I'm going to bring the handler up because this is session options, and those go together, and then this stuff goes with the handler. Okay, so there's the iron request. And then I need an iron response. Iron response, and then I can have export, export, and then I can have an iron handler, which is iron request, iron response, and this is okay, so there's the iron handler, iron request, iron response, and this response is express response. I guess I can just do it like this. Okay, so express request with session, next API request with session, and then iron request, iron response, iron handler. And this is a iron request, and this is an iron response. And this is an iron handler. Cool, is everyone happy now? I think we're happy now. Okay, so I don't want the yarn lock. I don't want the package lock. Going to add this, and this is going to be feet strongly, or I'll just call it iron handler type. Iron handler type. Okay, push it up to origin, and this will be a new PR. This PR creates types for iron request, iron response, and iron handler. Where iron request is like next API, next request, or express request. I would love to have lumped this in with but I chose not to because this PR includes a dev dependent. Oh, let me make sure it's a dev dependency. It's a big deal if it's a non-dev dependency. Okay, so I don't see express or next there. So express and next. Yep. But I chose not to because this PR includes dev dependency on both express and next. Note that next, note that at types next is deprecated. They officially request direct dependency on next. At types express is not deprecated. I'm not going to mention that. I really hate doing this. I hate chaining because people get so confused. Dang. All right, let's do it though. Okay. So now we have this crazy work completed. So let's see if we can link it and if it works. I'll open up a separate terminal to run the tests in it. Would you like to create a pull request? That's cool that it did that, but I already did. Thanks. So I'm going to open git bash admin, close this. Whoop, yep. cd d workspace GitHub next iron session. Okay, and ls, my package is right here, so I'll npm test. So get that test running, and while that test is running, I'm going to go over here and link. Let me double check the syntax for npm link. Yarn link is just yarn link, but npm link, I always screw it up. I could yarn this package, but not in the middle of when it's running tests. Okay. Looks like it's just that simple. Okay. So let's see if that works. Oh, this already errored out. Bunch of passes, error, no matching files. All matched files use prettier code style. All right, cool. So I'll screen cap this. I don't know. Guess my baby's mad. That's no good. Okay, so that built it. So I'll try to npm link. So now I'll go up to Futurecaster, right? Close others, cd Futurecaster. So this would be like Futurecaster user, Futurecaster user, Futurecaster user here. And previously we did this, and now we just want to get handler. So handler is still pointed to this one. Okay. So we try to link iron session. Bad engine, that's no good. Yeah, do you want me to stop? No? Was she hungry or?
I don't know, I gave her a bottle, so. Alright. Here you go.
Oh, cool, thank you. Okay. All right, so this shows that the linking worked because even though it says bad session and like that's not good, it changed the handler definition and it says it has no member exported member called handler. And then if I look here, this has the stuff. And by the way, maybe this should also export a handler since I took it away. I don't like that it's somehow getting to any. I'm going to close that file. I think it's like maybe not updating. Also, I think I might need to rebuild. cd next iron session npm build npm run build. Cannot find module debug, huh? Okay. Maybe I should unlink. Okay, so I unlinked it, so now, can I run build now? Yep. Okay, so linking it was interrupting the build. It didn't have a very good error description for that. Now let's try to npm link again. And so the difference there is that I aliased iron handler. Whoa, and why is it complaining, huh? Do I need to say type of? TypeScript alias, let's see. Type second equals number, yep. Very cool. Let me unlink it again. And run build again. Okay. And this would be npm link. Go over to FutureCaster. npm link build or next iron session. npm link next iron session. Okay. So now that I've linked it, let me open the user file again, and I'm going to close this, and I'm going to fuzzy type it. FutureCaster user. Here's the user API. Now we do have handler, and it's loading what handler means, and it's an iron request and an iron response. Okay. And it's not mad about session anymore. Okay. So let's get rid of this. Boo! And let's get rid of this. Boo! And now we're not mad anymore. And it knows that session is a session. So cool. That's what that was all for. That's what that was all for. Cool. So here I'm going to fix backwards compatibility. And backwards compatibility, it's another case. I'm going to rename it feat. Backwards compatibility. So what's the difference between a feature and a bug? I have trouble spelling that word. This is another thing I talk about in my blog article. If you want your pull request merged, if you're fixing a critical issue like a runtime error or something, call it a fix. But in general, calling stuff a feature, it's kind of tricky. It's kind of tricky because this is not my top level pull request. So it could indicate to people that I'm fixing something I broke. And I don't want to communicate that. So I'm going to call it a feature, alias back compat. Okay, I'll spell the word out. Compatibility. Okay. Discard the locks. Alias backward compatibility. Push that. I can run the test one more time for kicks, but like there's no way that an alias is going to break it. Famous last words, right? Okay. Let's run the test. CD D workspace GitHub next iron session npm run test. Okay, so that's running the test. In the meantime, over here, I'm happy with my types. And let's get this session working. So handler, yeah, is not assignable. Ooh, with session requires. Okay, this is my own thing, so I can fix it. So with session here is now a iron handler. I'm actually not going to do this because this would all be great, except that if I push it, it'll break because I'm locally linked, right? Those changes that I made are in my local package. So I am going to roll back these changes. I've proved that they work. And now I'm going to npm unlink. Okay, unlink. I thought I could like unlink like all, but I'll npm unlink next iron session, right? That's what it's called, right? Okay, so now this is back to the previous behavior, and can't find module. So let's check the test. The test should be done by now. Tests all pass. Seems like it ran fewer tests, but whatever. Next, npm unlink. All right, cool. Futurecaster user. So maybe I need to npmi all over again and get next iron session back the way it is actually on npm. Yeah, I like uninstalled it. Unlink uninstalled it somehow. So let's bring it back. Do I need to npmi or do you already have it? I need to npmi. Npmi, drop my lock. It's just going to build the lock again after I install, so I'll wait 5 seconds. And let's get that username to show up finally, huh? Okay, so the lock cleared out. Great. Okay, so we have the session coming through. And that's not complaining because it's any. Okay. So now I have with session. Let me close this. So now I don't want to see my email. Oh, am I actually even running an app? Hold on. I need a versal dev. Cool, now it's ready. Refresh this page. All right, cool. So it's my email. Feel free to say what's up if you want. This is an example password. So I still got the JSON, and all the bad things are happening. But do I have my new cookie? I don't see a new cookie. I don't see a new cookie. What about on my network request? Sign in. Response headers. Response headers. I don't see a response cookie. Okay, so what's going wrong? So here's cookie name, password, and cookie options. So all of this is properly set. Iron session. Okay, so that's for Express Connect. So that's something different, actually. So here's with iron session. This is what I'm using. Fill it out. And then here's a handler, rec session destroy. Okay, for logout. That's cool. Rec session get user. Is this supposed to be a login? This is user. Where's login? Okay, login. Rec session set. Okay, so this is what I'm missing. And save. Okay, cool. So I will go to my Futurecaster use sign in. Okay, so here we are, and then we have this going on. Person signed in successfully, and we're going straight to Supabase. What I would like to do is cool. So their email and password is what, so the user is sending to the backend their email and password. And then we log into Supabase, and that's working. And we get the user session error. So I don't actually want the user because the user is already in the session. So I will get the session. And this is where it's tricky because there's like the Supabase session, but then there's the there's the iron session. So this would be and session, and that's going to come from next iron session. Sort my imports, save. Okay, so this is the request session set, and I will call it iron. Hopefully that doesn't need to match my cookie. I think this is just setting a key. Yeah, so this is just setting a key onto the session object, I believe. So I will set Supabase, and I will dereference the Supabase session. Okay. Then I will save it, res, send, login. By the way, if there's an error, throw error needs to happen first. So if Supabase gives us an error, let's throw an error. Otherwise, iron session is going to save the Supabase session to a key called Supabase. And client is now authorized. So here I will just say what success. Yeah, I think that works. Cool. So now what happens? So now I try to log in. Oh, it's going to error because I'm not giving JSON. So let me res JSON. So my front end is expecting to receive a JSON response. So we'll just give it what it wants. Yeah, I think that's fine. Oh, you know what? I can take message to be a higher order. Yep. So we can put message up here. So we can let message. So message is initially empty. In the case of an error, it'll be an error. In the case of success, the message is success. So that will be what we send. Cool. So let me complete this example. Password. So now the JSON says an unexpected error occurred. Okay. Over here, password string too short. Did I type it incorrectly? Here, refresh my page. I've definitely had successful login already doing this. I have also definitely incorrectly typed this example password like several times. What does it mean, password string too short? Is this a new thing? All right, let me just delete my user. Completely delete the user. And example password. Example fancy password. One, two, three. Okay. I think I need to sign up with this user now. I'm just going to kind of cheat slightly and just replace it in place. So now my user doesn't exist at all, and this is actually signing up. Even though it says login. Let me make sure. I don't actually think I even need to spell it right because I have it hard-coded right here in the front in the UI. Example fancy password. Close this. Okay. So, what was the error this time? Password string too short. What are you talking about? Oh, it must not be getting my password somehow. Because this is 32 characters, right? Let me character count. Oh, this is still not enough characters. Since when do I need a longer minimum 32 characters required? Since when? Is this like, I think this is like a new Supabase thing. Auth settings. I don't see anything about 32 characters. So here's an example password. That's not 32 characters. Right? Theirs is even shorter than mine. Oh, this is a happy error. I think I know what's going on. I think Iron Session is the one complaining. Okay. I'm one character short. I would be, wouldn't I? Okay. Well, how about that? I might need to kill Versal and start Versal again. All right. So this is not Supabase. And this is not even a bad thing. You want your secret to be good and strong. Okay. Looks like stuff's still loading. All right. I was going to say foobar. Login. Okay, some kind of error. Let's go over here. What's the error? Password string too short. Let me stop Versal because I know that string that I used is long enough, but it might need to like reload it. Oh, and I just got the sign up email from Supabase. That's weird. I feel like that should not have happened. Right? I guess I'm not like checking anything. So this continued. Yeah, that's bad. That's bad. That's bad. That's bad. Okay. Let's see if this works. Message success. Okay. Now I want to go back. Now I want to go back and break it on purpose. Is that another sign up email? Yeah, it's another sign up email. Okay. Confirm your email. Okay. So now this can be a sign in. Supabase should have registered my user now. Bam, there he is waiting for verification. All right, let's do this. Confirmation token not found. What? I feel like confirmation is something I can deal with some other time. It logged me in, so I think that's what I care about. So now it says success. So the question is, do I still have the session as a cookie with iron session? There it is. Bam, 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 bam. And this guy is encrypted. Look at the start of that. So this, I take this value. Let's see. I'm gonna get the value better off my headers. And here's the set cookie header. It is a response header. This is everything I'm looking for. Let me grab this, and just to prove to you that it's not trivially encoded as JWT, go over here. Boom. Oh, it doesn't make any sense. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Because it's salted with my super secret password. Okay, so that's going to wrap it up for me today. I know I still didn't quite put my name there, but I'll get to that. And I also am going to go offline and like double check if I do get that happy error, HAPI, like that my salt is not strong enough. It shouldn't go through with Supabase sign-in. So I think I'm just gonna do something like this. If rec.session. I think if that object exists at all, then happy is happy. But maybe not. So I'm going to handle that, and I'm not going to bore you with it. I am going to get my name up there right here for next time. And the other thing that I want to check is, oh yeah, Supabase email confirmation. So I signed up, but it's redirecting me to localhost. So I think I need to set that confirmation process up too. I'll do that out of stream. Thanks for tuning in. See you later.